decide to use a rematch clause. So here we go. Once again, who you got in this rematch from SummerSlam?
I'll take 2/3 of the Shield on this one. I think they're going to keep building these guys up for, I mean, they're great, but I think they're going to keep building this rivalry even more and maybe have Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins take over this division I wouldn't say the long haul, but I'd say for at least a little while.
Paul?
Yeah, because I'm the one who originally said that these guys were going to win. I didn't get a lot of love. I know I didn't get it from Brandon. Perhaps I got it from Jarod because Jarod.
You didn't get any love from me on that. You don't get any love from me at all. You know that.
Yeah, because
very rarely.
Jarod is going to predict when my first child is going to be and what sex and blood type. He will tell me that at some point. But I will say that in this
2024.
Wow, that's pretty.
Good Lord.
7 years.
Hopefully my sperm's still good then. Fantastic. But yes, I think that the Shield continues their dominance.
Yeah, I think the Shield continues because what else are you going to do with them?
The Shield. You got to say 2/3 of the Shield. This isn't the full Shield. Come on.
It's not the full Shield. Roman Reigns is his own man. This is enough of a Shield.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, the majority of the Shield.
Roman Reigns and the Shield always felt like Deacon Batista back in the day, or Batista even in Evolution. You ever notice that there was Batista, but like there'd be Ric Flair, Triple H, Randy Orton, they'd be winning belts, tag team belts, singles belts, and then there'd be like Batista. And that's what Roman Reigns was. Roman Reigns was the Batista.
That's a fair analogy.
So we moving on to the Intercontinental Championship. We knew The Miz would be defending it this past week on Raw, which is kind of weird because they normally have this stuff sewn up more earlier than the go-home show. But Jason Jordan left Monday Night Raw as the #1 contender, so there's really no build-up between the two of them other than what they had prior to the Jason Jordan officially becoming the #1 contender. I think The Miz is still going to defend the belt, though. He's hot. I'm taking The Miz.
As much as I love to take The Miz on this, I mean, he's on fire. But I just had this feeling I think they're going to go Jason Jordan. That's my gut feeling on this. They're building this up. I think it's going to build for another continued rivalry between the two of them. I think Jason Jordan
this has the potential to be the best wrestling match of the night.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great match. I think Jason Jordan's going to show why he is Kurt Angle's son with the wrestling skills. So I think Jason Jordan's got this.
You can't see him at home, but quote marks.
Yeah,
son.
quote marks. Yeah,
son. Paul, what about you?
Yeah, I really desperately wanted Jeff Hardy to win the six-pack because I would really love to see him again as an individual competitor. I thought he was going to beat The Miz. Again, I love The Miz, and I wish there was maybe a different individual title we could give to Jeff Hardy to see him grow in that role. But with Jason Jordan being the guy, I'm going to go with J times J, J squared, double J in the morning. Give me Jason Jordan. I don't know why I'm doing this because I love The Miz, but it just seems like that's the breath of the wind.
Every time you say double J, you owe Jeff Jarrett from 1995 royalties. So hold that out there.
Start paying up.
Yeah, we can't call him double J on the show. You owe Jeff Jarrett some royalties there, and also no the roadies as like Road Dogg, and we can't refer to anything as six-pack as well. As X-Pac, especially X-Pac. He's the worst. If you use the word six-pack out there, if there's even a nickel on the floor, he's going to pick it up.
Of course he is, because he's got his own personal demons.
Yes. So let's move it on to Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. This match, yet again, I don't know how you can take a match that is very interesting on paper and drag it out so far to where it's not interesting at all. But yet again, they're going to face off, and I don't know why, and I don't really care. I'd rather see Bray Wyatt versus a built-up Dustin Rhodes at the pay-per-view, but we're getting Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. This hopefully is the last time these guys, and they can move on to something new, especially Finn Balor, because they've been wasting a lot of time with Finn Balor.
Yeah,
single.
Let's move the hell on with this whole thing. Finn Balor needs to get back in the Universal title picture. So for me, he needs to win this decisively and then move the hell on. This thing it's been going way too long. They just need to move it on.
I think the opposite. I think to move on, have him lose, and then just kind of tuck his tail between his legs and move on to bigger and better things. I think he can still execute that even with him losing into the Universal title picture.
I don't think it makes him look. I think it makes him look less worthy as a champion if you're losing to Bray Wyatt.
Well, it doesn't make him look more of a champion by losing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think that you could get Bray Wyatt. We all know historically is crappy at pay-per-views. So I'm going with a bit of a wild card here, and at the same time, kind of ending this feud.
I'm going to go Finn Balor, and I hope then they do something with Finn Balor. That's my goal. That's what I think is going to happen, and I hope this is the end of Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt, and hopefully they can maybe even give Bray Wyatt some time off. I think he's at one of those times in his career, not his career, but in the usual run where he needs to maybe leave for a little bit so we can be reintroduced to Bray Wyatt. Because there was a time where we loved that guy, and every time he came out, it was like the Undertaker music hitting. We were all super pumped, and now it's waning a little bit. So I think Finn Balor's going to win, and hopefully this puts the end to that rivalry as we move on to what I believe will probably be on the kickoff show. Neville versus Enzo Amore, the Cruiserweight Championship. Enzo looking for his first ever Cruiserweight Championship. He's the number one contender. Is he going to take home the belt?
Yes, Enzo Amore will win. I think it's time. I think it's time to boost him up, as the champion and turn a new leaf, so to speak. I think the king of the Cruiserweights is going down.
I'm taking Enzo Amore as well. Paul, what do you got?
Enzo isn't on the Neville level, boys. Let's be honest. Not from a wrestling perspective, perhaps from a promo perspective. I get where everyone's leading me, but you know what? Sometimes when a lamb is tied around the neck and getting dragged to slaughter, sometimes he doesn't want to go, and I don't want to go. So I'm picking Neville. I'm hoping that he wins the match, and I don't get dragged to what we're expecting to have happen. I don't want it to be predictable.
The main event of the evening, the champion, Brock Lesnar. Many of us thought that he was not going to leave SummerSlam with the belt, and yet he did. But this Sunday, he's back in action. No time off for Brock Lesnar in the sense of pay-per-views. Obviously, he skips a lot of Raws. Versus Braun Strowman in the main event. I'll start here. I'm thinking Brock Lesnar wins. I'm not saying he's going to win outright or convincingly. Probably not clean, maybe like the ambulance match that Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns had, where it's like, who really won? Roman Reigns was holding his hands high at the end, but Braun Strowman apparently won the match. Something similar to that concept, but Brock Lesnar's leaving with the belt.
Braun Strowman. I think Braun. It's his time, and plus Brock Lesnar's going. He's going to take another vacation, I'm sure. So, Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman, a monster among men. I predicted it at SummerSlam, and I wasn't wrong. I was just delayed, and the inevitable can no longer be delayed. It's time for Braun Strowman to become the Universal Champion.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just feel like if you put Brock Lesnar down, it's then hard to build him back up, and I don't think they're done with him yet. So that's why I'm picking Brock Lesnar, because I'm going to pick Brock Lesnar until the day I know that he's going to retire tomorrow. Then I'll pick somebody else. So I'm saying Brock Lesnar leaves with the belt. And that is your No Mercy pay-per-view rundown. Once again, I picked Brock Lesnar. They picked Braun Strowman. I think we all picked Roman Reigns except for me. I picked John Cena. And we had, for the Women's Championship, Alexa Bliss, 2 Baileys. Everyone here is picking Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. We got a few people picking Jason Jordan and The Miz. Same with Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt. And 2 of us for Enzo Amore, 1 of us for Neville, if you're keeping track at home, because we're not really going to keep track here, so maybe you can do that for us as we move to our tweets of the week. Brandon, let's start with you. What is your tweet of the week?
My tweet of the week is going to our regular WWE Creative Humor, so WWE Creative _ish. I love this tweet. It says here, New Day are going to be the 16-time tag team champions by the end of the year. #SmackDown Live. I mean, the way they're doing it, all these title changes, it really takes away the luster of having a long-term champion. So, I'm not a big New Day fan, so it wouldn't surprise me because the WWE loves New Day apparently. So I could see that.
I'm gonna go here with a tweet. It came out earlier this week. It's just a quick back and forth. So Cody Rhodes puts out, "Dear Michael P.S. Hayes," Michael P.S. Hayes, the WWE Hall of Famer, and everyone knows as part of the writing team in the back in WWE. He puts, "Dear Michael P.S. Hayes, if you're afraid an event won't sell because of the holiday and want one of my dad's events, at least book Goldie from Cody." Now, Michael P.S. Hayes responded, "So, Cody, you're right. We should have Goldie on the show. By the way, what are you doing that night? Want a team with your brother?"
Interesting.
Interesting little back and forth. Obviously, Michael P.S. Hayes is big involved in the writing. So, I mean, that would be interesting. Cody Rhodes teaming up with his brother. But from funny kind of, not my tweet of the week, but Brandy Rhodes put out a tweet this week that I'm not putting as my tweet of the week, but kind of puts an answer to that question. So Cody Rhodes' wife said, "So you're going to bring out an event like Starrcade and not really give any recognition to Dusty Rhodes, who for her acknowledgement, was a big part of that, and not give him as much credit as he deserves, and you do it after he passed." she didn't like that as well. She did the one of the Muppets, not the Kermit sipping, but the Gonzo or something. Just she was not a fan of this idea of WWE bringing back Starrcade, especially not as it being a tribute to Dustin or to Dusty Rhodes, and to have brought it back. So unless they want some fighting at home, I doubt Cody Rhodes will be on the card. But either way, an interesting back and forth between a former WWE superstar and somebody who's very hot and current WWE writing team. Again, there's that fourth wall being broken. These conversations, normally you never aired out publicly. They happened behind closed doors over the telephone, but right there, very interesting. Paul, what do you have as your tweet of the week?
Okay, my tweet of the week is from Rob at Oot Rob. Don't think about it, boys. I'm throwing it to you. This is the tweet of the week. What's the first wrestling promo that comes to your head? Go.
Anything? Well, I'll say this: The Rock and Chris Jericho in the back in the day, they had a little back and forth where they kind of stole each other's gimmicks, like their little catchphrases and stuff. I think that's the one that comes to mind. It was a cool backstage thing. I think it was The Rock, Chris Jericho, and I think Michael Cole was the backstage personality back there.
Probably just Jarod. Go.
Okay, probably the Rock and Stock connection. The little "This Is Your Life," and I'm not saying it's my favorite, but you said the first thing that comes to your head. And I think maybe it's WWE Network's fault that they've beaten that in the bush as like the greatest promo of all time, and they've just shown it to us so much that when I think promo, that just pops in my head.
Okay, perfect. That's the tweet of the week.
All right. Now we're going to close this week's show. No Mercy this Sunday. Typically in the past was a October pay-per-view. It's going to be a September pay-per-view because, well, they got another October pay-per-view, and don't get me started on any of that. But if you're going to watch something this week, I'm going to just throw it out there. The year 2000, No Mercy 2000, from just 2 hours down the road from where we are right now at the Pepsi Arena in Albany, New York. And obviously we all know Kurt Angle, and we all love Kurt Angle, and we all know about a Hall of Famers, but before it was technically his christening. Kurt Angle was a European champion, he was an Intercontinental champion, and he was toiling around a little bit in the world title picture, but not so much until No Mercy 2000 when they finally gave him the belt, cleanly beating The Rock and becoming the champion of WWE for the very first time. He then obviously feuded. He was a big champion as 2001 came along as a big face against Stone Cold Steve Austin. After the tragedies of 9/11, WWE obviously promoted the crap out of him because he was the USA superstar and the face of the Alliance, or the face of WWE versus the Alliance. But either way, WWE champion for the very first time. And the return of Stone Cold Steve Austin after he was hit by a car and they found out it was Rikishi who hit him in the car, and there was that confrontation. But either way, a decent pay-per-view, No Mercy 2000 from the Pepsi Arena in Albany, New York. The christening of Kurt Angle, and how fitting because it's Kurt Angle's pay-per-view, No Mercy, as he is the general manager of, this Sunday on the WWE Network. And that is going to do it all for this week on our program. Until next week, this has been the Heel to the Face podcast with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements, Paul Boyd Greenesen, and myself, Jarod Wicks, saying join us next week as we will wrap up everything No Mercy and get you ready for Hell in a Cell. As once again, this is the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, and on iTunes.